afternoon, America. This is Francesco Abbruzzino bringing you the Francesco Abbruzzino Talking News, live news and talk show. So we're going at it again. I found out the issue. Too much memory. Too many tabs are open. Too many things are going on my computer, hence the issues that I was having. So what I've done is I've decided to take it all, do some kind of notes, highlight them there. And then I got the links that I want attached to here, and we should have a phenomenal show today. Be even better if we could get some call-ins. The call-in number, 941-584-4874, gets you into the show, and we could discuss any of the issues. One thing I'm going to cover, I was actually a little late because I was trying to respond to an email from an individual in regards to one of my subject matters, which I'll cover in just a few minutes. So what I'd like to do is start off with a little humor. Yesterday I tried playing this video, but I was having all those issues. Finally, I gave up on the show after like 5 minutes. This is Mark Dice. He goes out and he asks people to sign up a petition. And he'll go out to numerous places and say, okay, can you sign this petition? This is what we're trying to achieve, and all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that, and let me go ahead and get it clued into there. Sorry, folks. I thought my auto link would work on my computer, and it did not. So let me paste it, and we'll get Mark going right now. Yeah, let's get you guys over so you can see it.
I will faithfully.
And, of course, we have the commercial there, so let's just silence that. Okay, so Mark basically goes out and he asks a bunch of people if they'll sign on to a petition. And, okay, let me see. There we go. Now we can skip it. All right, so take a listen.
We need to stop the sale of the Brooklyn Bridge to China. You know how much money we owe China? They're selling them the Brooklyn Bridge to pay off the debt. They're going to tear down the Brooklyn Bridge. We can't let them sell the Brooklyn Bridge to China to pay off the debt that we owe them. I mean, if they think we're going to let that happen, then I have a bridge to sell you, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. This will stop the sale of the Brooklyn Bridge. Thank you, sir. Save the Brooklyn Bridge. They're selling it to China for scrap metal.
You just sign in?
Just print. They're selling the Brooklyn Bridge for scrap metal because the money that we owe China to prevent them from launching a nuclear attack against us, we're giving them the Brooklyn Bridge. Thanks for helping save it. In order to avoid a nuclear war, we're turning over the Brooklyn Bridge to China because of the money we owe them.
That makes sense, right?
Thanks for helping.
Makes a lot of sense. Oh my gosh.
It's a national monument, basically, and the Chinese are going to put tolls on it, and everybody who drives over the bridge now is going to be paying a toll to China because they've threatened us with a nuclear attack if we don't start paying the national debt back. So we get to save the Brooklyn Bridge.
So how are we going to pay them? Any other ideas?
We can turn over Hawaii to them. We need to save the Brooklyn Bridge.
Let's see if this
They're selling it to China. They're going to tear it down. I'm not sure what the dollar amount is, but they're going to tear it down and use it for scrap metal. And, you know, if we're going to allow that to happen, then I got a bridge to sell you. You know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stop the sale of the Brooklyn Bridge to China. They're going to sell the Brooklyn Bridge to China for scrap metal because of the help pay off the debt. It's just, we can't let that happen. The historic Brooklyn Bridge.
Alright, so that's Mark Dice out there.
We can't let anybody buy the Brooklyn Bridge. If you're that...
That's Mark Dice out there doing what he does, asking people to go out and sign a petition. His last one was to, I think, either imprison or execute gun owners. And a lot of people were like, yeah, we need to do that. Now he's out there just saying, you know, testing if people will buy into the fact that we're selling the Brooklyn Bridge for scrap to China. And all these individuals are signing it. Some are agreeing, some are talking about it. Come on, people, wake up. I just thought it was funny. I could have played the whole 4 minutes for you, but it's basically the same thing where they do it over and over. And I just thought it was a little humorous. Now, the next thing that I'm going to go over is the driving issue, which I put out a sync here. Nope, okay. Driving issue. And this is what I was trying to email when I came on air to an individual, and she was writing me back about 65, because what I did is I created a petition on my Francesco Abbruzzino live news and talk show page, Facebook page. I put a petition on there and basically saying, hey, look, why don't we take these elderly drivers, and instead of just renewing their license, why don't we make it mandatory that they have to, A, show us that they're of the right sound mind, you know, they got all their marbles in place, and that their sight is good. And I referred to the fact that recently we had someone, within the last couple of weeks, we had the individual in Paris just now from Venice, 83-year-old killed somebody. You had the 70-plus-year-old lady the other day that ran over 3 or 4 people that were killed and 2 were injured in Bradenton. And then just here in Venice, you had the individual general manager with the yacht club that was ran over by when an individual pulled out, some 93-year-old guy just pulled out. All these individuals are just getting citations. Even the lady in Bradenton, she previously in 2011 ran in through a McDonald's when she hit the gas instead of the brake. When are we going to have some sensible laws there so that we can make sure that these individuals are not out there putting anybody else's life in harm? So I put the petition out there. I said 65 just as a starting point. Obviously, there's people that are 65 that are sharper than I am. There's people that are 80 that are sharper than I am. It's just a starting point. You know, whatever the congressional and Senate House leaders up there in Florida and Tallahassee would determine, and then say, okay, if you're 65, 70, 80, whatever they determine, you have to come in. We're not going to auto-renew. You got to come in and just be in front of a what's a licensed person called? A licensed customer service person. Be in front of them and prove that you got good vision. Prove that you have right sound mind. Maybe have them take the test. You can't just sit there and say, is this guy right of sound mind? That's not going to work. So have him take a test and see where he's at. I think something needs to be done because it's a growing issue, especially here in Florida. We have so many elderly people. And, you know, like I said on there, I'm 47. I'm going to be 65 one day. I'm not going to want to give up my license, but I hope my daughters kick my butt and make me give it up if I'm driving hazardly. Now, our next thing that I wanted to touch on is political correctness running amok. And this is in regards to the kids at school. This one is in regards, this is a child. He was interrogated and suspended after voluntarily turning in his toy gun. Doesn't make sense. What happened is he went in, and the school has, like many, zero tolerance for guns, okay? So this 11-year-old went in and brought his gun in. He realized that he shouldn't have. It's a toy gun. Realized he shouldn't have, and he went and gave it into the, his teacher or whomever. Well, they were not happy with that, and they decided to interrogate him. It just come down really hard on him. They had him in the office all by himself, subjected him to, it says they freaked out, subjected him to interrogation and intimidation tactics. And this is up in Chicago. It's Frederick Funston Elementary School in Chicago. And I'm thinking, you know, why are we doing this, guys? I get the whole thing. We don't want guns in school. But this kid is 11 years old in 6th grade. Do you think that was excessive? Seems like a little bit excessive to me. Now, the next thing comes back down here to Sarasota. Actually, it touches on 2 things in Sarasota. And one is, we'll go back to a story that I sort of broke on my page a couple months ago. It was picked up by a lot of the major media. It was a mother that wrote me, and she was concerned that at Venice Elementary School, they were making her son run laps. If they got in trouble or something like that, they couldn't play at recess time. They either had to walk or run laps. Well, a lot of people didn't see an issue with it. I don't see an issue with it. The kids out there, they're getting healthy. But she had basically the same concern as this individual that I'm going to cover up at Tuttle, where the individual is going out there, they're being humiliated or embarrassed because they have to run the track and everybody knows they did something wrong. The solution is, don't do anything wrong. Don't get in trouble, kid. I think it builds character, especially making them run around the track. I think it builds a lot of character for them. On this one, what you have is a lady. She's a psychiatrist, and it's the daughter's or the child's grandmother is a psychiatrist, and she decided once she heard about it that it was basically the school was publicly shaming the kid because the kid. What happens is, and they have this on all their material, their website and everything, if you have good attendance and good work habits, you get a no uniform day. Well, the kid it looks like had good work habits, but the kid was absent a lot. In steps grandma, psychologist Carol Marino, and she says, hey, look, Total Elementary is penalizing my granddaughter Bella because she missed school. That's not her fault, that's her parents' fault. Why are you penalizing my daughter? Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. I mean, my daughter gets penalized when I don't do stuff too, the volunteer work or whatever it is out there. It's and it's just a uniform. Come on, folks. If she wants a free no uniform day where she can wear normal clothes, then get her to school on time. But this psychiatrist is coming in saying her mental well-being is being impacted, and it says. Obviously, she's just not a fan of it because she couldn't participate in this special day where they don't have to wear their uniforms. Scott Ferguson, with the school board, stepped up and said, look, it's basically there to set a positive motion, positive reinforcement, and it's a good thing, and we're going to keep it up. I'm glad Scott was able to get back to them because he never got back to me on why the school board will not allow taped recordings to replace your 3-minute timeline that you get to speak before them. He blew me off, which is interesting enough. So, and that's about the political correctness running amok. We need to stop being so politically correct out there. Just call it what it is, especially with these school things. Hey, the rules are right there. All right? If you're absent or you're not good work habits, guess what? You can't have a non-uniform day. The toy gun. Come on, it's a toy gun. Be realistic, folks. And then the learning labs thing, which I think was a good thing. If you want to call in and talk about this, it's 941-584-4874. And if you Skype, I can get you in on video. Next issue, medical marijuana. Now, this is coming up on the ballot, and in the last couple of days, we've had Tom Knight put out his editorial with addressing his concerns, which I'll cover in a second. And then you had, he sent out another one, how crime is being impacted with the passage of medical marijuana. So we're going to go ahead and first play this video. Let me see something. If I could do control. Yep, I can. All right, so let me get you guys in that screen. And let's see if we can get this video going for you. Medical marijuana, it's just a quick report. And it may be very quick because it's not coming up right now, is it? All right. So basically what they're saying is it talks about medical marijuana, how the bill's going to be on Florida, and it looks like Georgia's ballot. A lot of people say it's a good thing. The medical marijuana is needed. It helps cure a lot of illnesses. And, oh, there we go. Okay. Let's X out this commercial. So, a lot of people are saying a good thing. So what we're going to do is just listen to this video real quick. It's going to come on in about 2 seconds, and then we'll discuss it afterwards.
FDA approval, but it's a movement spreading across the country. Right now, medicinal marijuana is legal in 20 states and the District of Columbia. And you have parents here in Florida that say it's their last hope. 3. We first met Sean and Kathy Klein in December of 2013, when she, along with thousands of volunteers, were working feverishly to collect enough signatures to get medical marijuana on the November ballot. Fast forward about 2 months later.
I know it's going to be legalized. And
nearly 700,000 signatures collected and validated. The decision is now in the hands of Florida voters. At the same time, state lawmakers in both Florida and Georgia are working towards their version of a solution for sick patients. In Georgia, there's House Bill 855, known as Haley's Hope, which would utilize academic medical centers in state, allowing them to study marijuana in a controlled clinical setting. Monday, Florida State Representatives Jeff Clemens and Joe Saunders held a press conference supporting the Kathy Jordan Medical Cannabis Act, which would create a state-run medicinal marijuana program. And there's House Bill 843, a light at the end of the tunnel for people like Klein, whose son endures several seizures every single day.
I am very excited because that is our golden ticket right there. That's what we're after, is Charlotte's Web for Sean.
The measure would legalize an extract of a cannabis strain known as Charlotte's Web. Proponents say it reduces seizures in children with severe forms of epilepsy.
It makes me tear up to think about it, but to have a day where he doesn't have seizures would be so huge.
Florida Governor Rick Scott has opposed the legalization of marijuana for medicinal purposes in state. Some opponents argue it's dangerous and addictive. Still, parents like Klein say they're willing to take a chance.
It's like I don't remember his personality anymore. He's been on seizure meds for so long that it would just be nice to get my child back.
According to a Quinnipiac University poll, 82% of voters in Florida are for medicinal marijuana. Now, if those numbers hold true, come November, we could see Florida added to this list. Reporting in downtown, I'm Keitha Nelson, NBC 12, ABC 25.
Okay, so you heard it there. It can help out on seizures, which is a good thing. Let me get back here. It helps out on seizures a lot with these kids, and that would be an awesome thing. So in that regard, medicinal marijuana is an awesome thing. Myself, I don't do any drugs. I barely have, maybe a glass of wine with my pasta if I'm lucky, and that's about it. I'm a pretty clean lifestyle. I may smoke a cigar once in a while. So I don't personally get the marijuana thing in regards to recreational. Now medicinal, if it helps this kid with his issue or many other individuals that have medical issues, I'm all for it. Now, you know what? Actually, I think I'd rather see that individual, Sean, with the medicinal marijuana versus taking all those pills he's shoving down his mouth, which we'll cover in a second too, for seizures. I don't know if the pills are going to be any better for this young person. It was a little touching when the mom was sitting there crying, and I know a lot of parents are feeling that way because they hate to see their kids go through pain. They're going through pain maybe themselves. On the addictive, I just don't buy that. Many drugs are very addictive. Pain pills are very addictive, but they're legal. I just don't think marijuana is addictive. It's definitely not as addictive as pain pill, yet that's illegal, like I said. So I'm not sure I'm buying in on that whole argument. Now, our local sheriff, Tom Knight, came out and put out a memo yesterday, editorial with the paper, basically stating that he's against it. You know, he's the sheriff, law enforcement, against the medical marijuana, because he sees it getting into the criminal end of it, the criminal aspect. He sees that people that don't have medical issues are going to start getting into it and utilizing this to fulfill their drug wants and desires and needs. I'm not sure that's going to happen, and I haven't seen any stats on crime after medicinal marijuana is passed. Actually, I don't see a lot of that type of information out there. Now, Tom did put out, or Sheriff Knight did put out basically a lead to an article that came out. Who wrote this article? It's by Tony Dokopill and Bill Briggs with NBC. And they basically came out talking about in Colorado how a lot of the marijuana shops have been ransacked, how they're kicking in the doors and pointing the guns and taking it. And the marijuana people are saying, hey, look, instead of robbing a 7-Eleven and getting $20, they can rob us, a dispensary, and on a good day take off with $300,000 in product, in money, and all that stuff. So they're you're going to see more crime, they're saying, based upon that. What's weird about this is they were talking about all these pot barons and all this crime going on in Colorado, but I thought it just became legal a couple months ago. But they're acting like this goes far back, so I don't know if there was a medicinal marijuana law there first and then it came to this. Now, all of them do require that they install alarms and surveillance cameras and secure their cash and retail, basically bolting it down. But they have definitely seen an uptick in regards to people that are robbing the medical, or now the recreational marijuana places out in Colorado. I could see that being an issue. If I'm going to score $300,000 versus 20 at a 7-Eleven, and 7-Eleven's open, that one's not open, they both have cameras, I'm probably going to go for the medicinal marijuana. So I could see where a criminal would probably do that. Now, one other thing that came out, which is a good thing, and this is an issue that's impacting all of America right now, And it's strange, my assistant, Susanna's my sister, my assistant was not aware of this, and it's designer drugs. What are designer drugs? Basically bath salts. She didn't realize it's a major issue. And here in Venice, Sarasota County, I got a buddy, he works downtown. He sees these guys all the time on this designer drugs where they'll go out and buy it. It's cheap, like $1 or $2, he told me. They smoke it up, and they walk around like zombies all the time. I think I put on this newscast, maybe it was last week, where an individual in Russia was walking around in the nude. It was like 20 degrees out, and she was on some designer drugs. So it's a bad thing. What makes it even worse is that they're sold at the local 7-Elevens, the local mom and pop corner store. And they sell it on the premise that it's bath salt. Sort of like they sell crack pipes and those little rose things, and they use those for crack pipes. Or they sell papers, and they say they're not for marijuana, they're a roll of cigarette. Come on, folks, we know what they're for, right? Come on, wake up. But basically, the sheriff put this out, and the county commission passed 5-0, a new ordinance, and it's creating a ban on products such as synthetic marijuana, bath salts, and other items designed to mimic the impairing effects of a controlled substance. This is a good thing. It says Sarasota County ordinance will fill the gap between products regulated as a controlled substance and products regulated by the FDA. So this is good. And I guess what was happening before is I've talked to Tom, Sheriff Knight, and some other individuals in law enforcement. And they said the biggest issue was they would come in and outlaw one of the products that are one of the chemicals that's put into the product, and all they would do is just change it up. And I think we all remember here locally down in Northport, they just busted a corner store guy that had about $2 million in synthetic drugs on his location. So, it's a dangerous drug. We need to do something. Hopefully this has enough teeth to get something done with it, and we can move forward, because I think we just had a lady that died from brain damage here in Sarasota not too long ago. So if you want to discuss this, 941-584-4874. It's a talk show, so I need people to call into my talk show. We're just starting. We've only been live for a week and a half, so it's going to take time, but we're going to do it. All right, so the next story that we have on here is, this is another attack. I'm gonna show you guys this one. Hold on one second. Basically, I don't know if anybody remembers. I put out a okay, first I got to get my technical end down. Hold on one second. I put it out last week about an attack. All right, let me stop it when it comes up. About an attack on a grid, electric grid. It happened a couple months ago. And basically, it was kept silent. It actually happened like 7-8 months ago. They came out with machine guns. They fired on all over on this grid and basically took the electrical grid down for this area over in, I believe it was San Diego. And then a couple months after that, it happened in Mexico, where they took a grid down and it impacted something like 350,000 people. This is another story where you have an individual. Now, I don't know if this was just some crazy guy, and I was hesitant to air it along the same lines, because they're saying, well, alternative media, news sources out there are saying, hey, is there a group of people conspiring to see how they can bring down certain grids or electrical grids? This one's going to be a nuclear location. And it just seems strange that all of a sudden you start seeing a lot of attacks on it. So let's take a listen to it, and we can discuss it in a minute. And let's see. Let's get you over there. I really need some assistance. What do you think, folks? Here we go.
We start this morning at Watts Bar Nuclear Plant, where the FBI has now joined TVA and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to investigate gunfire there early Sunday morning. A TVA security officer patrolling the plant's perimeter around 2 a.m. encountered an intruder about 200 yards from the cooling towers in a restricted area. We're told that the trespasser fired multiple shots at the officer, and the officer returned fire. The trespasser then fled as the officer called for backup. It's unclear why the intruder was there, and investigators aren't saying much. Watts Bar is already under high security alert in the aftermath of the Boston bombings last week, and investigators combed the area with helicopters for well over 12 hours Sunday. Still, TVA officials say there was no threat to public safety or the security of the nuclear plant.
All right, so here it is again. We have another incident where an individual went out, fired on a nuclear plant. Similar to what happened in San Diego. You had a bunch of people. It was better orchestrated. I believe they thought several people were there firing on an electrical grid, and that one they brought down. And my whole issue with that was, A, that it wasn't publicly put out there. You didn't see any of the major media carrying it. Not sure why they don't carry these stories, because they seem important. None of the major media picked it up, and you didn't hear about it unless you went through alternative, and it was confirmed like this one is. The FBI is researching it. But we need to know as citizens if our nuclear plants, if our electrical grids are safe enough, secure enough so that they can't be brought down, like what happened in San Diego. Now, if a guy with a machine gun can bring down an electrical grid in San Diego, what happens with what I'll cover later, Iran, when they come over and they blast an EMP above us and knock out all of our grid? This nuclear plant, how can a guy get that close with a gun and not get picked up? Where's the security around that nuclear plant? This is a nuclear facility. Nuclear facility. If this guy, we don't know, he might have just been a common Joe. If he can get that close, who's to say a Iranian sleeper cell couldn't get that close and blow it up? I mean, all you gotta, if you're that, folks, I don't think I need to tell you, if you can get that close as an Iranian sleeper cell, we're going to have real issues. And then to top it off, they couldn't find this guy. He got away. Just like the individuals in San Diego, they got away. So concerns, A, it's not being publicly picked up by the major media and put out there. Come on, guys, step up, major media. The second thing is that it's not as secure as it should be. We already have environmental concerns with those things leaking. They're so old and corroded. And now you got security concerns. Things that really definitely bust me. 941-584-4874. The phone's not ringing. Okay, I digress. All right, we're going to go on to the next thing. And that's, this is interesting. It's a little bit of a politics. I personally don't know if I'm for or against this, but I'm definitely not for the action that I'm going to read to you. And this is basically, it's against something that wasn't out in the major media. It's Democrats who oppose Keystone Pipeline own shares of the competing companies. This is basically a Democrat who opposes the Keystone have thousands of dollars invested in direct competitors of the company looking to build the pipeline. Senator Tim Kaine out of Virginia, he's a Democrat. He remains opposed to the construction. Through his disclosures, they learned that the freshman Democrat has between $15,000 and $50,000 invested in Kinder Morgan Energy Partners. So, should they be allowed to have this type of conflict of interest? Should our Congress members, our senators, our governors, our presidents, our leaders be able to own stock in companies that have opposing view or opposing interest to what you're voting on there? I say recuse yourself there, buddy. What do you think? What do you think? 941-584-4874 is the number. This is something I started covering yesterday, but yesterday's show was so hectic, and I think it's important, so I wanted to pick back up on it. And it's the use of drugs in America, legalized drugs. All right, so we're not just talking the synthetic stuff or the marijuana. We're talking about the real deal. Like I said, one of Tom Knight's arguments is, hey, it's addictive. Marijuana is addictive. Yeah, well, so are pain pills. Right, pain pills. Yet, those are sold like crazy here. So I did research, and it says 19 statistics about drugs, drugging of America. And it came out that 70% of all Americans are currently or leased on prescriptions. I'm one of them. I'm on blood pressure. I don't know if it's the stress or me being so fat or what, but I'm on them. In addition to that, 60 million Americans abuse alcohol. Again, that stress thing, alcohol. 22 million Americans that use illegal drugs. Never for that. You know, these illegal drugs and some of these legal ones, they just drive me crazy. All right, according to this, the CDC, doctors wrote more than 250 million prescriptions in 2010. Americans spent more than $280 billion on prescriptions last year. CDC, 9 out of every 10 Americans are at least 60 years or older say that they've taken at least one prescription. According to the CDC, unintentional drug overdose in the U.S. happens every 19 minutes. I know someone that just died from an overdose, or I didn't know him indirectly. Prescription painkillers kill more Americans than heroin and cocaine combined. There's a legal drug, and it's killed more of our citizens, our friends, our family, than heroin and cocaine combined. And I can tell you here in this city of Venice, it's a major problem, pain pills. If you don't know about it, it is. Trust me, I know people out there. It's a major issue. 2010, the average teen in the United States was taking 1.2 nervous system drugs, and that's for ADHD, which wasn't even a diagnosis back a couple years, 20 years ago or something like that, and depression. Children in the United States are 3 times more likely to be prescribed antidepressants. Why? That's ridiculous. I think it's a lot to do with their foods and their GMOs they're putting in. It turns out dealing drugs is extremely profitable, bringing in approximately $85 trillion in profits to drug companies last year. So, bottom line, isn't that what it's all about? I'm in the medical billing and consulting arena, and that's definitely what it's all about. The pharmaceutical companies are out there pushing their commercials saying, oh, you're depressed. Oh, you have a headache. Oh, you need this. Oh, you can't get it up. Oh, you need Viagra. And they're doing all that stuff. The consumer out there is saying, you mean I can just get rid of my headache if I take this magic pill? I don't have to sit here with this headache for 8 hours. There might be an underlying issue. It may be something you're eating. It may be the radiation emulating from the cell phone. Who knows what it could be? I can tell you, when I'm on my cell phone for extended amount of time, I get major headaches. Okay, so it could be that stuff. Now, so they're out there trying to persuade the consumer. Then they're going into the doctor's office. The doctor's office is being told, hey, look, here's a vacation down in Mexico. You're gonna offer our drug the next time, right? Hint, hint. Doctors, and a lot of you like to think they're very ethical. I got to tell you, I used to think that until I got into the medical billing and consulting arena. Most of these guys are out to make money. Sure, there's some that are very ethical and they're doing the right thing out there, but a lot of them are out there for the mighty dollar. And they see that these prescription companies are going to give them a trip. They're all about it. Think about it. When you go to a psychiatrist anymore, they just sit there and they say, instead of delving into what your real issue is, what's causing you to be depressed, what's causing you to have this anxiety, they say, here's a magic pill, take this and call me in the morning. They bill you for an hour and you're out the door. Makes sense to them. I don't know. To me, it's just band-aiding the issue. And it's allowing them to get away with this type of treatment where they don't have to do their job. They can just sit there and say, here's a pill. I don't have to worry about you. I don't have to diagnose you. The other issue, too, is insurance companies. Insurance companies are out there saying, okay, we're not going to pay for all these tests. So the doctors are forced almost to give a Band-Aid solution. Here's a pain pill. Instead of doing all kinds of testing, all kinds of visits to see what the issue is, because the insurance companies aren't going to cover it, folks. And so they're limited on their choices. And they say, okay, here's your test. All right, let's take this pill. So bottom line is, all these people are making money. It's a lot easier, and we have to put a stop to it. I don't know what the easy solution is, but there's got to be something better than this, folks. There's got to be something better. Next thing is, we're going to play another video. Let me get it up here. This is in regards to smartphones. And something I didn't realize is that there's a kill switch on them. I don't know if many of you guys did realize that. All right, let's see. Here we go. All right, it's loading. There's a kill switch on them. A lot of people, law enforcement and everybody out there is saying, hey, it's a good thing in case your phone's stolen. You got a kill switch on there. It's a good thing. I don't know if I buy into that whole it's a good thing because you got the kill switch on there. A lot of people, the conspiracy people, think differently. They think, okay, the government's doing this. They can just shut down all my mode of communications, my internet. I don't know if it's that widespread or if it could be that. It's possible. Who knows? But this is from CNN. Here we go. Whoops.
Wireless providers don't want to let them use it. Samsung is working with U.S. authorities to include a kill switch on all its phones sold in America. The anti-theft function would render stolen phones useless, but preloading the software on their phones as standard would require approval from U.S. phone carriers, who are not on board. The wireless industry says a kill switch could allow hackers to disable someone's phone, but some question whether cellular providers are unwilling to give up the profits they get from customers replacing lost and stolen phones.
And there we go again, folks. It's sort of like the prescription pharmaceutical companies. They don't know if they want to put a kill switch on because they don't want to lose that profit of people getting their phones stolen and coming in and getting a new one. So, the kill switch, good or bad thing? 941-584-4874. I think, it's a good... I don't know. I'm not sold on it. I don't know if it's a good thing. I understand it's a good thing if your phone's stolen. We can kill it, which will cut down on people wanting to steal this product from you. I get that. I don't know if I like the fact that there's this auto kill switch out there that Verizon can just say, the government can just say, hey, buddy, let's shut all these phones down. We need to quell some public I can't speak right now, but we need to shut the public down. We don't want them making calls. We don't want them tweeting. Let's hit the kill switch. That's the conspiracy guy in me wondering, well, do we really need this? I don't know. You got GPS on a phone. Why can't you just track it? Why do you need a kill switch? So, you think of stuff like that. Now, next thing is nobody calling on the kill switch, huh? Okay. The next thing we're going to do is cover Obamacare and a few issues there. So we're going to go to this video. And this one is on something I was not aware of. They're charging what they're going to talk about in this article, I think, is a 5 cents increase on gym memberships to cover suntan booths. I didn't realize that. I don't think a lot of people realize it. And let's see. Okay, we're not going to that right now. We're going to go to something else. All right. I thought I had the right article. So basically, on the gym thing, what's happening is they're going to charge, a lot of gyms are charging like 5 cents. Some are charging as much as 60 cents. It's considered a tax. It's part of Obamacare, Affordable Health Act. And they're charging this to cover the tax that are on suntan. And a lot of gym people are saying, wait a second, I don't have a suntan booth in this gym. Why are you charging me? Well, if a gym has multiple locations on there, then and one of those locations have a suntanning booth, then they have to charge you because they're getting hit with that tax. They're assessing them with that tax. So you're going to see it's 5 to 30 cents. I don't know here locally in my town if we have anything like that, any gyms with sun booths, suntans, but we may. They may be out there. Now, this is going to lead into the rest of my conversation, and this involves, a quick 9-second video.
Sorry, we're breaking protocol here. That's all right. That's a good thing about being president. I can do whatever I want.
All right, so a lot of people are upset about that. I can do whatever I want. And he's taken that action, and a lot of this came from Obamacare. There's two things that he said, okay, we'll hold off another year on. One is if you're working over 30 hours, you can get the Obamacare coverage. There's all the criteria that fit into it. And then if you have over 50 employees, you got to pay on it, company. So what will happen is companies will cut people so they're below 50 employees, or they'll cut your hours so that you're not at 40 hours, you're at 30 hours. Anybody wanting to discuss Obamacare? 941-584-4874. Okay. What I don't like about this is Obama came out and said, look, companies just can't fire to avoid the Obamacare tax after 50 employees. So the thought police, firms must swear Obamacare is not a factor in their firings. And they're basically making them. Firms are going to be required to certify through the IRS under penalty of perjury that Obamacare was not their motivating factor in their staffing decisions. To avoid Obamacare costs, you must swear that you are not trying to avoid that cost at all. You conduct a law, but if you promise not to say so. And so the thought police are out there. Millions of insurance cancellations and workers dumped from employer-based policies due to Obamacare is happening. So Obama's out there saying, hey, I don't care what you say. You can't get rid of that employee. If you're at 50, you can't drop one employee down to 49 just because of Obamacare. Well, it's not just Obamacare, it's all the costs that's impacted. So if I'm a business owner, I'm not blaming Obamacare, I'm blaming all the additional costs which you can't handle. I mean, seriously, Obama, anybody out there, any Democrats, any Republicans, would you want to keep 50 employees and drive a company into bankruptcy so that these 50 employees lose their job? Or would you say get rid of the one and go with 49, keep the business solvent, and you move on? Unfortunately, I get what the Democrats are trying to do with Obamacare. And, you know, a lot of people might think, oh, he's anti-Obamacare. I basically am. I'm not a huge fan of the rollout, but I try to look at it on some of the good things because it's passed. You can't do anything about it. So you try to view it in a positive note and what we can do to work with it. Unfortunately, some of this stuff is just killing business. It's killing jobs. And I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, Democrat, you got to admit that. I mean, too many times you see these parties, and it just drives me crazy. When you get Democrats, let's say Obama's screwing up, the Democrats will not admit it, and they will not admit there's an issue and move on. They skate around it. Republicans do the same damn thing, and it's ridiculous. And a lot of Americans are getting tired of it. Face up, you screwed up. Obamacare, you screwed up with a lot of these different things. The security of the site, isn't that great? People's information's being taken from it. That's the website. And here's another one. The CBO director, as we all know, he came out and said, look, basically Obamacare discourages people from working. You know, the spin on it that the companies have been using is that not fired over. Oh, sorry. I got a video over the not fired. So let me go to that real quick. Hold on 1 second. I didn't realize I had this video in here. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. As you see a work in progress. I got a lot of these different things I'm doing on here, and I'm trying to do it all and work within the parameters. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's listen real quick to this video once I get it going. All right.
Well, I don't think
What happened there? All right, let's try this again.
Well, there's no more important role than being a father, and raising children is a challenge. And I have 6 of them, and they've all given me a few gray hairs. You know, it's a significant challenge to balance that act and responsibility of father and husband. But one of the things that we've done for the last 15 years, even before I became governor, is that my family always gets together at 5 o'clock at my home on Sunday. And so we gather together, we have a dinner there, everybody kind of pitches in to make sure we've got enough food, and we spend about 2 to 3 hours together every Sunday evening. The end result of that is I am able to kind of stay connected with my kids and my grandkids. The cousins know each other, we know what's going on in each other's lives, and it just keeps me grounded. Well, I have a real estate business. I was a real estate broker and developer. My father was a contractor. He built them, I'd sell them. We developed land and properties. Eventually, I got into the daycare center business. We had a family business where we had a couple of daycare centers that we also operated. But business and regulations and taxation were making it difficult for us to survive. And so that motivated me to do something more than just talk to my state senator or my congressman. And in that process, I was challenged to run for office, and so I did. I think I'm a better governor because I was once a businessman I actually have run something. I've had to make payroll. I've had to deal with the intervention of the government that sometimes gets in your way and inhibits your ability to have a profitable bottom line. So I think the real-world experience of actually running a business is extremely valuable to me as a governor who really is focused.
Okay, this was more of a political ad than what I really wanted to play. I'm not for running that political garbage. But basically, you get the gist of it. He's saying his point was with the political ad is that all the government's coming in with the restrictions and regulations. It's just too much on the common folk, the average man out there. This next video is a short one, and it covers doctors that were put on Obamacare's list without knowing about it, and then they were pulled. So people were signing up for the exchange saying, oh, my doctor's on there. Then they go to see him and, oh, no, we're not on there, and they got pulled. So it was pretty interesting. You're going to have these snafus, but hey, why not? It gives me material. Let's run with it and see what happens. So let's take a listen to this video. You got to love how the bandwidth is still slow, even though I don't have a lot of tabs open. So I don't know if I'm still buying that one with Verizon Files. There we go.
Access live CNBC TV.
Okay, we get an advertisement, so let's silence this thing until the advertisement runs out. But basically, yeah, a lot of these doctors, and this happened primarily in California, are put on this list without realizing it. And here we go.
Hi, this is Dan Mangan from CNBC.com. Covered California's announcement today that they were going to take down a master list of doctors who are supposed to be in insurance plans because a number of those doctors aren't in those insurance plans is troublesome because that phenomenon is almost undoubtedly not limited to California. You're likely to see this happen around the country in different states that are selling Obamacare plans. And that's problematic because the insurers themselves should have a very good idea about which doctors are participating in their plans. And if they're selling this insurance to people and guarantee them that their doctor will be there for them, that's going to lead to a number of unhappy customers. And that is going to tend to reinforce already persistent negative opinions about Obamacare that even some of its own customers already have.
All right, that guy hit the point exactly there. Let me shut some of these tabs real quick. That guy hit the point exactly on the head there. He said, it's just one little negative thing of many, and it's all adding up, which is going to hurt the Obama administration. You keep getting this one little issue, and it just never seems to end. The other real issue there is the fact that people are signing up for specific plans because they see their doctor. And I know this is an issue because my mother-in-law, let's take her. We had a lady, she came out here to sign her up for a different CAP plan, Medicare type plan. And she was doing it based upon her doctor. She wanted to see if her doctor was in network with the plans. And so a lot of folks go out there and they make their choices on insurance to make sure their doctor's on there. She had an excellent doctor here in Venice. I think she ended up going with a plan that he's not on just because other doctors are on there and the way it worked out. But I think you get the gist there. Now, the other issue is that's where I started with the CBO. And if you want to discuss Obamacare, 941-584-4874 is the call-in. Okay. CBO director. And he came in and said, hey, look, Obamacare is de-incenting these individuals to go out and work. It's going to lose about 2.3 million jobs, and it's a job killer. Well, now they're coming out, and they're basically saying that the CBO expects economic growth to diminish to a pace that is well below the average seen over the past several decades. The anticipated slowdown reflects long-term trends such as slower growth in the labor force. Now, this guy's trying to be politically correct. He backtracked from his statement earlier, and I don't know if the Obama administration or someone came down on him, but now he's saying because the older generation. That's one factor, but older generation doesn't lead to lower labor numbers. There's more stuff to it than that. He's just trying to walk that political line and be politically correct in how he approaches it. So, the next thing is, I didn't want to cover that one yet, did I? Yeah, let's go ahead and cover this one. This next one is on banks. I don't know if any of you guys follow this. It wasn't really picked up a lot by the major media. And it was a few months ago where Chase was limiting how much money you could withdraw. Then you had companies like the bank HSBC just last month was telling people, hey, you can't take out $8,000. You got to give us a good enough reason if you want that money, and fighting people over taking their money out. So, you know, I've always been really leery of banks. I know over in Italy, my sister has an issue where she'll have like, let's say 3,000 euro in there, but they won't let her take out more than 500 euro. And it's crazy. It's her money. Why can't she take it out? I ran into the same thing here. I came back to the United States, and before I went to Italy, I used to go in and say, okay, I need 10,000. They give me 10,000. Well, I came back here, and in Venice, he's saying, well, because we get robbed, we don't like having all this money on hand. I'm like, what? So I got to put in a special request if I want anything over, like, I think it was $2,000 or $3,000. I forget. You got to put in a special request so they can order the money, they say. And they say they do that as a safeguard so they won't get robbed. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. You know, because basically they're taking my money and loaning it out to somebody, and I'm getting just about zero interest rates. I'm just getting there for safety. And they're making all the money off my money. Big banks, you got to love them. Now, here's the other, what's bringing all this up is Danske. Danske Bank, and I think this is out of Ireland. They're basically coming in, and thousands of customers are set to or denied access to their money. Up to 10,000 people could find their funds frozen as they failed to set up a new account. So Danske came in and said, hey, look, there was originally 15,000 that are getting terminated. You can either set up a new account or, you know, move on. 5,000 set up the new account, 10,000 didn't, and their accounts were frozen. So now they don't have access to any of their money. Whoa, you're saying. I'm saying the same thing. How can you take my money and cut off my access? And that's the story there. And they don't really say much more on it. Just basically like, tough luck. That's your problem, not our problem. You had your money in our bank. We told you you need to open up a new account. Now the account's frozen. You're screwed over. Why are Americans, Irish people, Italians, anybody allowing their banks to have so much control? Why are the governments allowing them to have this much control that they can do that to us? People live paycheck to paycheck. I was talking to my assistant today, and I think I said this briefly either yesterday or the day before, on the homelessness thing. You know, I walk up to Publix. I see these homeless guys. There's like 2 or 3 of them. They sit in front of their Pine Brook every Saturday. And you just look at them and you think, wow. For some reason, this Saturday I was walking up, and it's, you know, it's almost like people were looking down on them. And I'm thinking, you know, you could be there. I could be there at any time. Most Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and even then, we're not living paycheck to paycheck. We might get paid $500 a week, but we're spending $800 a week with our credit cards that the banks love to throw our way, so that we'll spend that money and be indebted to them. And I felt so much empathy for them. I didn't have my camera, and I wanted to go back and get it, and I never did because I saw a bunch of them in front of the Center of Hope that helps out the homeless. And I wanted just to go there and interview them, and just, if they would interview, and just say, how did you get here? And learn more about them and what some of the homeless people are about here. Because you hear a lot of times about the homeless, and you have a lot of people coming on saying they're drug addicts, which a lot of them are. They have a great propensity to be addicts, but a lot of them are just people that fell on hard times. So I just wanted to see and get a feel for what happened. How did you end up here? And give people of my area a better understanding of the plight that the homeless individuals are going through here locally. We got this Dr. Morbert in now, and he's trying to do a lot more stuff instead of jailing them, finding other options for them. We have in my area a lot of families that are homeless, and he's trying to do stuff with them, so that's a good thing. But people, remember, when you see the homeless out there, that could be you. I don't know how I got off on that tangent. Let me pull myself back in. We're going to talk food, guys, and this is a lot of information that I don't think many of you guys have. So we're going to go first into this app. It's a new app for GMO food. And a lot of you guys are thinking, what, GMO? What's this GMO? Genetically modified. All right. Today I'm just going to cover some of the impacts of how that impacts you, and some of the other chemicals that are put into food which you may not realize you're eating. And this is not the right video here. Hold on one second. All right, I just pulled up the wrong video for you guys. And right here is where I want to be. All right. So this is a new app that they have where you can go in, and it's from Dr. Oz. He talks about it. So let's give it a listen. It was pretty interesting. I listened to it earlier today. And let's see. Hopefully we can get it going for the folks out there. All right. Here we go. I hit the wrong one. I hit the picture.
Kelly, they're hugely helpful. We're actually tackling this later on this week on the show, but this huge debate now about GMO foods could be put to bed if people just knew which foods were GMO or not. And this app helps you do that. There are these UPC codes. They're little stickers you'll notice on fruits and vegetables. They have numbers on them. Those numbers mean something. If there are 4 numbers, it means that it was growing using traditional techniques with pesticides and it's not organic. If it's 5 numbers, if the first number is a 9, that usually means that it's organic. But this app helps you figure that out. It's a very simple tool. I like the idea of using technology to guide moms and dads making decisions about their family's health.
All right, I want to talk about, this is interesting, you can kickstart your body 5 ways in 5 days. Let her rip. This is awesome.
So I'm going to take you through a week of small changes every day. On Monday, I want you to cut out the meatless foods. If you cut meat out, rather, on Mondays, you can cut out the fat. That's the big issue I'm trying to go
We
after.
don't need to hear about the diet and cutting out the fat, but you get the point. He starts talking about GMOs and their impact, and that's where we're going in this. I should have put up this picture. The other day I was out there, and I was reading some alternative site, and they had an individual out there spraying pesticides. The guy was in a mask, white suit, gloves, fully secured, so none of these chemicals could get on him. You would think he's my bug guy that comes here. And I'm thinking, I'm eating this food. If this guy's all secured up with a mask and all this linen so he can't get it on his body, why am I eating it? It's food for thought, isn't it? If you'd like to discuss food today, 941-584-4874 is the number. Okay, first of all, this is something, and this came out from, I think I got it from the Food Babes site. Food Babes, that individual that brought worldwide attention or national attention to the Subway utilizing a chemical that's used for rubber tires and mattresses in their bread so that the bread would cook faster. Now Subway says, well, hey, we've always planned on taking it out. We're going to accelerate that. It wasn't due to her, even though they made that decision a day later. They have not given a timeline, and I don't think they've gone back to the Food Babe on that. Now, this she was writing on Panera Bread, and they were talking about, hey, where do you go for someone that is healthy, and they were just carrying on. And a lot of people think Panera Bread, yeah, good food there, good product. I've been there. I like there. I used to love their roast beef sandwich there. But this says, luckily, Panera Bread is one of the few companies out there that provides you a list of all their ingredients at your fingertips on the web. You can just go to PaneraBread.com. And in there, they have, she took a couple examples. One is Fuji salad. And, they got a picture. It looks pretty healthy. It looks real healthy. It looks pretty damn good. She goes on to say that it's heavily processed. The apple chips on top are made out of canola oil and corn syrup. 2 things you don't really want, do you? Which are likely, she doesn't know, they're likely genetically modified. Could be, maybe it's not. This is the kicker. The Greek dressing has an ingredient most people use in their car engines as antifreeze, aka propylene glycol. Propylene glycol. If you want to learn more about it, you can check it out. But I was like, oh, God. So if I go there and I get the Greek dressing, I mean car engine antifreeze chemicals, can't be healthy. Cannot be healthy. Then she brought on a couple more. We'll just do one more, and that's their ham, Swiss, and rye. You'll get a dosage of nitrates. Nitrates are dangerous for your health and are toxic to the brain. They're linked to Alzheimer's and many forms of cancer. So, if I eat a ham and rye sandwich, I'm getting a mouthful of nitrates that are going to cause me to get some Alzheimer's and possible form of cancer. That cannot be good. Here's the thing, folks. They list that stuff on their menus. Panera lists it on their webpage. So you have access to it. And hey, we're putting it out there. It's out there in the public domain. But a lot of you don't know what these different chemicals are. as do I. So the next one is, and let me see if I got to go here. Okay, Russia. A lot of countries out there are banning the use of GMOs, genetically modified foods, which Monsanto is the biggest part of. Russia came out and they basically, through all the attention of GMOs and stuff, they said, hey, we're going to consider banning all GMO products. They're considering a complete ban. Russian scientists called for a 10-year moratorium on GMOs to thoroughly study their influence on human health, emphasizing how vital these experiments are. Last year, they suspended import and sale of Monsanto genetically modified corn after the French suggested it may be linked to cancer. And you don't hear a lot of this on the major media, on a lot of the talks out there. Maybe on the Doc Oz show, he'll talk about it. But think about it. GMO corn. You go out there, and I don't know if you can get too much organic corn out there, but it's genetically modified. They're sitting in there. The scientists put their brains together, and they came up with a solution to shoot up into the corn and genetically modify it. It makes it stay fresh a lot longer. And a lot of people are concerned about the health effects of it, as I just read, where this French scientist says it could lead to cancer. One thing I did notice is when you buy organic, because I try to go organic whenever I can, A, it's hard to find, and B, it's a lot more expensive. You're almost going to pay twice as much, but it's healthier, and you avoid the carcinogens and stuff. Here's another issue. This is a good reason to stop drinking Coca-Cola. Report most common coloring in foods. Caramel color is known to now, I don't know why they did that. It should be avoided. As a matter of fact, not appetizing at all. It contains a potentially cancer-causing ingredient. A recent Consumer Report study found that you may be receiving more of it than what's generally assumed to be safe. And this ingredient is 4-methylimidazole. It's been shown to cause cancer in mice. The International Agency Research in Cancer found it to be similarly possible carcinogen to humans in 2011, though there's no federal limit on this product. And when they tested some Cokes, they tested some Pepsi in New York, and it came out, I think 29 is where the limit is. You should have 29 micrograms. New York, it had 174. They went back again in April, and it had 32. Okay, so I don't even know if I like that number of 29. If this is causing mice to get cancer, then why am I drinking this? And this is in your Pepsis and your sodas. Forget about the sugar and everything else that's in there. But this caramel color is definitely no good for you. So hopefully you guys are getting some good information that's not out in the major media on food. Some of you guys are probably thinking, you're a whack job, get out of here. All right. Next, this is something I just learned today. I was doing some research, and it's on rocket fuel, truly organic farming impossible. And this came out of Green Med Life. And basically it says that perchlorate, I'm going to call it perc, because it's a hard word to pronounce. And if you want to call and discuss food, 941-584-4874 is the call-in number. Perc is an environmental pollutant primarily associated with the release of defense contractors, military operations, and aerospace programs. It is now found in virtually all humans tested. The food chain through ground and drinking water into feed and edible plants, animal products, milk, and breast milk. Good example they use is in Colorado. The Colorado River is so thoroughly contaminated with perc that 90% of the lettuce consumed during the winter months in the United States are produced in lower Colorado River regions. So they contain this powerful endocrine disruptor. So as you can see, it's not a good thing. Who would have known that we're getting this from our ear, from just these testing of these missiles and all this other stuff? They say that, what does it mean to you? It says, used as a medicine in the country to treat hypertension, hyperthyroidism. So basically it could impact your thyroid. If you guys don't know, your thyroid impacts a lot with how your whole body functions, your weight gain and all that stuff. I started taking a nascent iodine because I didn't realize that the government put iodine in salt years ago, back to probably when I was a little kid or even before that. Well, they decided to take it out and replace it with a new substitute. So your thyroid doesn't get a lot of that iodine that you need. So now I take an iodine supplement. I've actually lost a lot of weight due to that because my thyroid, I think, is producing a lot better, acting a lot better. Results show that 16% of the conventionally produced samples and 32% of the organically produced samples had quantifiable levels of PERC using ion chromatography, and that's on organic foods. So as you can see, it's not good. And another bad thing is on the nuclear energy paradigm. Radioisotope contamination on the environment is now a global problem, and low energy internalized radiotopes are several radiotopes contamination of the environment. It goes on as that. Okay, not that great at reading that small print, even with my old man glasses. So bottom line is, there's all kinds of variables out there leading to contamination of our food product, our water supply, and all that good stuff. Here's this. This is from Fox News, and it says, we'd love to see more foods quit the following chemicals. And they use artificial food dyes. Petroleum-based dyes such as blue number 2 and yellow number 5 are banned elsewhere for their potential roles in hyperactivity and cancer. I didn't know that. Brominated vegetable oil contains bromine, a compound found in flame retardants and linked in memory problems. You can find that stuff in diet soda. Caramel coloring, we already covered that. And butylated hydroxystensiol. The petroleum derivative packaged food preservatives is probable carcinogen. It's in a lot of spices and etc. So there's some information there. A lot of these words are just too hard to pronounce. Why did they make it like that? You know, it's sort of like when I'm learning Italian or trying to talk to my sister. She calls a car a macchina. I said, just call it a car. Car is so much easier. Why do you want to call it a macchina? All right. New study links GMO to gluten disorders. This is something impacting a lot of people, the gluten disorder, and a lot of people don't even realize it. But modified foods are making more noise at the time because GM foods like soy and corn might be responsible for a wide variety of gluten-related disorders. Approximately 18 million people suffer from this ailment. Many experts agree that the recent increase in gluten-related disorders cannot be explained by genetics alone. Basically, it's an environmental trigger that they think is triggered from the pesticides and the GMOs out there. Along with GMOs come the pesticides, which have been linked to cancer, Parkinson's, and autism. And they give the links out there, so it's on record. You can go check them out. This is through collectiveevolution.com. All right, that's enough for foods. I beat that dead horse to death. Next thing. You guys may remember I had a guest person on last week, Fran, and we were discussing the Ukraine and how the ambassador for the U.S. was basically out there doing country building, out there, and they basically want the current government to fall and the U.S. to install their puppet government and all that good stuff. So this is on meddling in the Ukraine, and hold on, I got a video for you on this one. So we're going to take a second just to listen to it, and hopefully I can get it going. Let's pop you over to that screen, and let's see if it works.
US is urging the Ukrainian government to remove rice police from the streets, and earlier some EU members voiced their support for an idea of sanctions against Kiev. But as RT's Paula Sleer finds out, Ukrainian authorities are not the only ones meeting the riots head-on.
There's unease in eastern Ukraine. Many fear the violence from Kiev will be repeated here. Police are not taking any chances. With batons and shields, they're barricading government buildings. In the mining town of Donetsk, volunteers are arriving from around the region to help them. The buses have been arriving since early this morning. They've formed a block around this administration building. The message is clear. No one can enter. Denis was one of the first to get here. The 23-year-old coal miner from the town of Golovka, an hour away, feels the police should be tougher, especially when they're being attacked with Molotov cocktails and stun grenades. But he believes their hands are tied.
The police are going easy on the protesters because they don't want an international scandal. In other countries, they don't care about this.
Ironically, the international community disagrees. It's coming down hard on Kiev for being too strict with protesters. It's a feeling that's not echoed here.
I am a patriot, and I do not want anybody to interfere in the affairs of this country. I want Ukraine to make its own decisions and solve its own problems.
As it stands, a protester in Europe guilty of a riot gets 10 years in prison. In Ukraine, it's a fifth of that. For vandalism, in France, you get 7 years. In Ukraine, 3. Covering yourself with a mask in a protest, in Canada, it's 10 years. In Ukraine, 15 days. And so many charge the European Union is guilty of double standards when pointing a finger at Kiev.
When we see the levels of force being used against the police, then obviously the level of force reasonable and necessary by them in response, had that been in the UK context, would be very high as well.
As night falls, Denis and his colleagues dig in for the long haul. They're staying put, ready to protect their country, whether Europe approves or not. Paul Islia, RT, Donetsk, Eastern Ukraine.
Okay, so we saw that on Kiev, and you know, it's weird. I watch a lot of RAI International, which is the international station for Italy, and you see a lot of this type of coverage on Kiev and all the different countries out there, but you don't really see it that much here in the United States. That just shows some of the writing that's taking place, and basically what the ambassador for the U.S. was doing was saying, hey, let's come down on the government. We want the protesters in there. We want to install our puppet country in there and take it from there. So they were out there doing some nation building, which a lot of people have criticized them for, which I don't think we should be getting involved into other nations' politics, which is what that young lady, that government official, just said in that video. The next thing is journalistic drones. These things are interesting, and they're getting more and more attention, and the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration is looking into them more and more. What they're seeing is, and I think I reported last week about an individual, he was out there flying his with a GoPro on it, and you're seeing a lot of them out there now. I actually have a GoPro, and I was thinking about getting one of those things. They're like $1,600, and you can fly them and get some pretty cool shots. Well, this guy was off work. He works for a news station, and he saw an accident, and I guess the individual died, and he decided to get his GoPro, put it on there, and fly it over. The police asked him why he was doing that, and they really couldn't do anything because there's no law against it. Morally, is that the right thing? Ethically? Nah. I mean, I wouldn't sit there and film some dead guy in a car. But I could see many people, many news agencies, media outlets doing that. So the FAA is being urged to hurry up and come up with some rules on how these little drones can be utilized. The irony behind it is how government officials, be it police, soldiers, government officials, whoever it is, they love using the drones on us, but they don't like us using them on them. I don't know. It seems a little ironic. So if you'd like to discuss that, 941-584-4874, and that phone is not ringing. All right. This next one is on executive orders on our lovely president, Mr. Obama, and many presidents, because many of them do this. And they're basically coming in and saying at least a major dozen adjustments. Obamacare without congressional approval. Obama has been making a mockery of the U.S. Constitution. Throughout human history, political powers have always tended to become concentrated in the hands of one man, and the Founding Fathers knew this would happen, which is why they came out with the Constitution separating the powers. Here it says a radical concept of separating powers. It's really small text that I'm trying to interpret to you guys. We're not just going to wait. What he said is basically, we're just not going to wait around for legislation. We're going to take action. And you're supposed to have that separation of the power so that not one person has so much power concentrated in itself. Obama believes that he has tremendous power right now, and has just a blatant disregard for the Constitution. He wants Obamacare to be changed. Instead of passing it through the Congress, he goes and changes, and that's the mandate on the employee thing and extending it. It just goes on and on. Now, I'm going to cover another story about the Ohio National Guard, where now different government offices, government entities are thinking they can go and do whatever they want because Obama is setting the direction. And a lot of people are starting to refer to him as King Obama because A, he's going out and he's taking a lot of these actions, and B, those damn Republicans aren't stopping him. The Democrats aren't stopping them. They're not saying, hey, hold up, you're violating the Constitution. Why? Why are these guys just sitting around because they're in his back pocket? You know, that guy Boner or Boyner, whatever his name is, he's good buddies with Barack Obama, and he acts like he's all against them, but, they're golfing buddies. They go out all the time enjoying the high life. All right, just drives me crazy. All right, so next thing is... we're going to cover the TPP, and a lot of you may not be aware of this, and it's just something I wanted to bring to your attention. It's the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, and basically it has an IP chapter that would have extensive negative ramifications on users of freedom of speech, rights of privacy, due process, and hinder people's abilities to innovate. And there's also a lack of transparency. A lot of the major media isn't out there covering it. It's something Obama's been trying to push through. And if you look on it, they checked the transcripts of CBS Evening News, Scott Pelley, ABC's World News with Diane Sawyer, and NBC's with Brian Williams. From August 1 of 2013 through January 31st of this year, they found no mention of the TPP. And it's a major issue, guys, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And then they talk about cables. What is it? It's a fast track to tyranny, they're calling it. President Obama can close down the deal, the TPP. Part of that includes persuading Congress to fast track negotiations with the TPP. That probably doesn't interest you. Here's the part that does. Basically, you're surrendering your secret surrender of sovereignty. That is, the president was attempting to surrender sovereignty over U.S. environmental policies to international bureaucrats interested in lowering those standards to mirror those of the TPP partners nations, which are basically your Asian countries. Economic and political integration as a step toward global government, called Free Trade of the Asian Pacific. And, they say it's a job killer, sort of like NAFTA, where I think it was Clinton when NAFTA came in, he said, hey, we're not going to lose any jobs, and we actually have lost jobs. They said it would help boost our economy and jobs, and it really hasn't. Next thing is, we're going to go into Fourth Amendment, and we got a video for that. So, what do you think, guys? Do I need a technical support here or what? All right, here we go. Let's get you into that screen. All right, this is Ron Paul, and he's going to talk about, do we any longer have a Fourth Amendment? And this in regards to NSA procuring data, phone records and stuff, or also this situation that happened out in Jacksonville, Florida, which I'll cover in a second. So let's give Rand Paul a listen to and see what he has to say.
Our founders never intended for Americans to trust their government. Our entire Constitution was predicated on the notion that government was a necessary evil to be restrained and minimized as much as possible. When we learned that the NSA was collecting the phone data of every American last June, it posed a serious constitutional question. Do we no longer have a Fourth Amendment? The Fourth Amendment was included in the Constitution precisely to prevent the issuing of general warrants in which blanket authority is given to government to spy on citizens at will. Individualized suspicion of citizens' records is precisely the kind of overreach we fought a revolution over. The colonists did not appreciate a British government that would go door to door searching anyone and everyone without probable cause or suspicion. The lesson of the American Revolution was that this should never happen again, and yet the NSA's data collection program is the modern equivalent of this practice. President Obama cited Paul Revere in his speech, but Paul Revere rode through the streets to tell us the British were coming, not the Americans are coming. The Constitution is not a negotiable piece of parchment to be ignored or abused at the president's whim. Washington leaders are expected to obey and protect what they took an oath to uphold. And if this means taking them to court over it, so be it. If the seizure and surveillance of Americans' phone records across the board is now considered a legitimate security precaution, there is literally no protection of any kind guaranteed anymore to any American citizen. We cannot allow this administration to continue to treat the Constitution as a dead letter. I will continue to fight this overzealous government surveillance program, and I invite you to join me. Today is the day we begin to fight back. If you want to learn more, visit Defend the Fourth.
Okay, so that's Rand Paul, and he's basically covering the Fourth Amendment and how the NSA tracking all of our data on the phones is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. I went out and I looked it up some more, and this was from the Jurist. It's a forum where they discuss a lot of this stuff, and the contributing editor here is Marjorie Cohen of the Thomas Jefferson School of Law discussion group. They're talking about Edward Snowden. He revealed a secret order of the Foreign Intelligence Service Court that requires Verizon to produce on an ongoing daily basis all call details of telephony metadata. The government has admitted it collects the metadata for all of our telephone communications, but says it does not listen to the content. Can we trust them? I don't know. You know what, too? I forgot if... forget it. Okay. So, basically, they went out and they put it before two judges. Judge Richard Leon of the U.S. District Court of District of Columbia held that the metadata program probably constituted an unconstitutional search and seizure because the government can use daily metadata collection to engage in repetitive surreptitious surveillance of a citizen's private going on. The program implicates the Fourth Amendment each time a government official monitors it. Unwarranted search and seizure. Search and seizure. That is what the Fourth Amendment is all about, folks. They're violating it, aren't they? I don't know. What say you? Call in. Someone talk to me about it. Here's another one. This is a poor lady. In a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment, Florida SWAT team literally commandeered a woman's home again to gain the upper hand in a nearby neighbor suspect. Deborah Franz was straight up kicked out of her own residence after a nearby scuffle at the neighbor's house involving a handgun was reported to police. So they basically kicked her out of her house for 6 hours, commandeered it without her permission. And basically what they found out is that after they brought in all this machinery, had her kicked out of there, that the house that they were focused on had been empty. Two issues here. Hey, the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure without a warrant. It shouldn't be allowed. Excessive police force. I've been covering that a lot lately on my different shows. Love the police. I think we need them out there. They're great. I have my Taking the Bite Out of Crime in Sarasota County. Supports them. I don't support abuse of the power. In this case, I don't think they should have kicked this lady out of her house for 6 hours. They violated her Fourth Amendment right, and it's just an abuse of power. Now, this next thing I'm going to show you is another police officer that's gone bad. His name is Tariq Hassani, and he shoots a dog. He shoots a dog in front of a 9-year-old, and this is a service dog that he shot. So we're going to take a quick look at that, I think. Here we go. All right. Let me get you guys on that screen. There we go. And okay. He apologized for it and everything. Basically, he said the dog was coming at him barking. He was nervous that he was going to get bit. And let's take a look at the video. And you guys make the call. Should he have been nervous? Should he have pulled out his gun? Should he have shot the dog in front of the kid? I don't know. Let's take a look at the video and we'll decide. So he's got the gun pulled out there. The dog's walking away from him.
1602.
He says he thought the dog was going to bite him.
1009. Jack will in reference to dog.
He tries kicking the dog. Why doesn't he wait for backup? It's my question. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, God, let's turn that off. All right.
Dispatch 1602.
What was he thinking?
If you get a shot.
Yep. You did just see that, folks. Hold on one second. Let me get you the right screen. Wow, I didn't know it was that sensational. I need to watch some of these videos prior to putting them on. That was pretty graphic. He basically came out and apologizing, saying he's a dog lover. But come on, I was watching that video as clearly as anybody else. Those dogs were barking, sure. Why didn't he just stop going forward? Why didn't he wait for someone to get there and back up? Why did he have to keep going forward? The poor dog was shot and killed, crying, and there was a 9-year-old boy there. It was his birthday party. Let's see, firing a gun right into the front yard, and when we were having a birthday party, and there were other kids around, it wasn't just that 9-year-old kid that was there. He says he thought the dog was going to bite him. When I saw that shot, that dog wasn't going to bite him. It's just sad. And that was a service dog helping the family with Parkinson's disease. The whole point of this is abuse of power. You know, police are great as long as they do their job and they don't abuse their power. It's almost like me here. I have a huge fan base. I could easily utilize my resources with my media out there and maybe abuse my power, but I try not to. I try to do what's the right thing. This power is put on certain people, and you have to do the right thing. Americans kill. This is just some interesting information. And again, it's not cop bashing. It's not police bashing. It's just going out against those people that are abusing their powers. I went on. This comes from Prison Planet, and cops have killed well over 5,000 Americans since 9/11. Many of these killings have occurred during no-knock raids. All right, no-knock raids. I don't know what they're saying, but I'm interpreting it that they're just busting in the door. They're not saying, "Hey, we're the police." And it's risen by 4,000% since 1980s. And they compared it to Iraq, where insurgents have killed around 3,500 Americans in Iraq since 9/11. In Afghanistan, 2,000 have been killed. And they just break down all the killings, basically. Okay. So the gist of it is, hey, don't be too quick to draw. I think I put up on one of my local media sites the other day, I asked about the tasering, because there was a young man that was tasered in Texas by an SRO, student resource officer, and he said he was fighting and he tasered the guy because the guy was out of control. Well, he didn't realize that people were on their cell phones filming it, and they showed that the kid was actually breaking up the fight. When the officer came in, the kid was backing up. The officer tasered him, knocked him on his butt. And, I started questioning, well, maybe they shouldn't have tasers because they're quick to use them. And tasers have actually killed, I think the number was around 500 or something like that. But if they're quick to use it, do we want that in their hands? I don't mind the gun, it's part of their uniform. But if an officer is not going to be responsible enough, do we want him to be so quick to use it? And then if he's going to lie, like this officer in this tasering situation did, and the video proved that he wasn't being honest up front, should he be in a uniform? I don't think so. And this is all going up to our Second Amendment right. So I'm going to 2 more stories, and it all leads into our 2 or 3 more, leads into our Second Amendment right and some of the concerns that I have. Let's see. So the next story comes into Bloomberg, and I covered this a little bit a while ago. It's on Poughkeepsie, New York Mayor John Tazik. He basically was part of this coalition of mayors against illegal guns, and Bloomberg, the ex-mayor of New York, was out there trying to put it all together so they can control so they could get safer communities through gun controls. Well, what he found out is that they were basically trying to legislate gun control and then taking guns away, a violation of our Second Amendment right. Once he found out this was happening, he didn't want anything to do with it. Him and about 50 other mayors all quit the organization, or the, I don't think they were quite organized yet, but the group, let's call it. So they left it. So you see a lot of these. You see cops abusing their power. You see the mayors and our government elected officials trying to take away our Second Amendment rights. You see something like this, and this is something that major media didn't pick up, but the Russian Times did. Why? And it basically talks about the Ohio National Guard, after internal documents revealed that the agency conducted a training drill last year in which Second Amendment advocates were portrayed as domestic terrorists. WSAZ reported that in Portsmouth, Ohio, early last year, they had held a mock disaster had been staged in order to see if the first responders from Scioto County and the Ohio Army National Guard 52nd Civil Support Unit would react in a make-believe scenario at a school. Talk about why would they do it at school? Probably scared the hell out of these kids, wouldn't you think? So they go in there and they plotted to use chemical. They're saying that these extremists plotted to use chemical, biological, and radiological agents. They went through the whole drill, and what they found is the documents that media trackers on Monday found that it revealed the details of a mock disaster where Second Amendment supporters with anti-government opinions were portrayed as domestic terrorists. It was up on the chalkboard as well as on tables that several statements about protecting gun rights and Second Amendment rights. So the concern they have there is that you have this government entity, the military, the National Guard, and they're portraying gun owners as being domestic terrorists. And they're doing it to the school, to these kids, to everybody else, basically instilling in their minds that these gun owners are potential domestic terrorists. They're no good, basically like that. A, why are they doing that? And B, why are they holding this kind of scenario? It gets you nervous, especially a lot of people out there, because you see stuff like this. Homeland Security, they're purchasing 141,000 rounds of sniper ammo. We just reported the other day that the post office is purchasing a bunch of ammo. The EPA, the NOAA purchasing ammo. On this one, it said, according to Fed Biz Ops, the federal agency is looking to procure 141,000 rounds of Hornady .308 Winchester 168 yard tap ammunition. What makes .308 ammunition so deadly is that it's a long-range capability of the round. It's an efficient projectile. The latest purchase further illustrates the fallacy of the DHS to excuse that they are buying bullets in bulk order just to get a discount. We don't see that as happening with this type of purchase. The federal agency will pay about $1.20 for each round, when lower grain rounds could be purchased for around a quarter of that price. So they're buying these higher end rounds, which they say are just for training. The other thing is, where is it right here? The majority of the bullets purchased by DCH are hollow points. Hollow points, obviously, you're not going to use them for training purposes because it just doesn't make cost effectiveness. It's not efficient use of our money. Basically, the DHS says that they've purchased a total of over 2 billion bullets, with some fearing the federal agency is gearing up for civil unrest. And that's basically what when you see these purchases of ammo by government entities like them, you see National Guard coming into schools, preparing for domestic unrest, basically, is what they were doing. And they're attributing that to Second Amendment gun-toting freaks out there, which they refer. I guess I'm a freak because I'm a gun-toting Second Amendment type guy. It's just not good. And so what you get is a lot of people are upset about the push to get rid of the Second Amendment, to make it more restrictive. Buying up ammo. A lot of people are viewing the purchase of all that ammo, maybe for domestic unrest, maybe as a form of gun control because they couldn't get the legislation through. So let's buy up all the ammo. And it actually did. A lot of those purchases have really hit the supply of ammo out there, and it's hitting a lot of us gun-toting people hard. This is something I should have carried earlier, and it's on Snowden again. Something else he released that mainstream media did not pick up is the Five Eyes. And basically, it's an international group of agencies where they go in, basically share all kinds of data on everything on your life. No privacy anymore, folks out there. I got to think that there's a lot more out there, and Snowden says there's a lot more that he hasn't released. But The government just does not value our privacy whatsoever. Now, we're not as bad as some of these other countries, and I can tell you it was a lot worse. I think I don't know if I used it on this show or another show, where in Italy, the police, the Carabinieri would just pull me over all the time, and they could do it at will and search my car and all that stuff. They had a guy with a machine gun just standing there. So we still have a lot more privacy. The concern is that they keep taking these small steps, taking away a little bit more privacy, a little bit more, and we're going to end up being like Russia, where they got cameras over in the hotel room, and they said, well, we know they're using the showers and sleeping on the beds because we're watching them with our cameras, which is not a good thing. Immigration. As many of you may or may not know, I'm a first-generation Italian-American. My dad came over from Calabria, San Giovanni and Fiore, had us, went back to Italy and stayed there the rest of his life, but he got everybody else here. All my family came over legally. Immigration's pissed at the Republicans because the Republicans aren't going for this whole amnesty thing. Because they cannot be ensured that the border will be secured, that the money's there to secure it. Trust me, they don't have the money to secure it now. How are they going to have it to secure the entire border? And that's just talking about Mexico. We're not talking about Canada's border too, which is not secured. So they basically said that they want to kick off a campaign, which they started yesterday, basically shaming Republicans into taking action towards immigration reform. I agree. Immigration is a tough issue, you know. I think before we consider it, I need to see the borders secured. I need to see that the money's there to secure it. I need to see that there's an initiative to stop the flow of immigrants into here. First thing. Second thing, getting rid of the undesirable immigrants. There's a lot of undesirable ones here. Let's try our best to get rid of them. Why are we playing all touchy-feely with them? The ones that are good citizens, are good residents, ones that understand the American morality, ethics, everything that's American, and they want to become citizens, give them a pathway to becoming citizens, because I think it's just going to be hard to kick them all out of here. Although many Republicans and libertarians all think that's the direction to go in. There's no easy solution. Next story is on Iran, and this is something you're seeing very little of, and they're saying that they're sending their warships over, and they're going to come up into our U.S. border waters, which is up to 12 miles offshore. You know, the government's basically saying, hey, they can do that. There's no big deal. You know, they're allowed to do that. It's international waters as long as they don't come in our waters. Some people have concerns. Some people out there are saying, look, they could basically fire off a nuclear not a nuclear missile, a nuclear weapon that could strike off an EMP that could just knock out our entire electrical grid, because the EMP is like the big thing out there, guys, for knocking down the grid in any wartime atmosphere. So they're afraid that they'll be so close that they could do that, or if they had a nuclear bomb. A lot of people say Iran actually already has a nuclear bomb, that they could use that on America from 12 miles offshore. It's basically, when they say a fleet, they're sending two boats. One's a helipad boat, and then another one's like a small battleship. The concern is that Iran's turning up the rhetoric, and they're getting more and more bold with each day as they come. So a lot of people are getting concerned. The main group's getting concerned is in this next one, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan are arch enemies with Iran. Pakistan and Saudi Arabia follow the, I forget which type of Muslim fundamentalist they are. Peshkin, I think. Oh, Shia. They're Shias. Oh, wait. Yeah, to Shias. So, you know, it's all over Muslims and being of different sects. That's like me saying the Catholics and the Protestants and us hating them, let's go to war with them. That's how they are there with the Muslim and the different sects there. Iran and Saudi Arabia obviously want to be the power kings out there, especially Saudi Arabia. They want to basically dominate the whole Middle East. They play like they're these nice guys out there, but they're some of the worst folks. And they're asking for basically Pakistan to send 30,000 troops into Saudi Arabia because they're concerned that America's getting too friendly with Iran and that they're pulling away from Saudi Arabia after the 9/11 fiasco. This next thing, this is interesting. Very interesting. There's two parts of it, and it's on bin Laden. And basically, U.S. Special Operations Commander Admiral William McRaven ordered his subordinates to destroy all photos showing the corpse of Osama bin Laden. He did this after a Freedom of Information was filed, wanting to see the pictures, wanting to see the wounds, and wanting to see that something, see if everything lied in place. They want to see right now they want to know why McRaven ordered the photos destroyed, why the Pentagon is so desperate to keep the images out of the public domain, and they're starting to wonder, hey, are they fake? And do the wounds on Obama match up with what we're putting out there? Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh said that the whole incident was one big lie and it was all made up. A lot of people are saying that bin Laden died years ago, and this is an interesting one that just came out. It's from a former CIA agent, and now he's over in Turkey. I think he's an ambassador or something there. He's some government official with Turkey. He says Osama bin Laden died of natural death nearly 5 years before it was announced that he was eliminated by the American commandos. He's a Turkish politician. Americans simply found and opened the tomb of the leader and presented it as though they had captured him. He says he knows this because the entire world believed it. I could not possibly be. Okay. I personally know the Chechens who protected him. They are Sami, Mohammed, and Ayub, and they were there with him until the very end. I remember that day very well. There were 3 6s in, it was on, he says on June 26th of 2006. So, again, their first mistake was burying them at sea and not showing that they actually had them. A lot of the people that went in there on SEAL Team 6 disappeared. A lot of them are dead now. A lot of people, there's a lot of conspiracy people are running crazy thinking that some of them don't believe he's dead. Some believe he died a while ago, like that what I just presented to you. But some believe he's still alive and he's still out there. They're just not buying this whole scenario that has been painted by the government. Still no calls. Okay, we have one more story, and then I got a cool video to show you that's real interesting on a 9-year-old, and then we'll be done. This one though is on aliens. And basically, the DNA results of a Nephilim skull in Peru came in. And basically, it's a human-like. They say it's Paraques is a desert and peninsula located within the Pisco province of the Inca region in Peru. They found more than 300 elongated skulls. And I don't know if you can see it. We'll put it up there. The elongated skull. Okay? They said it was not part of a cradle boarding. A lot of people are saying that they take these, they call it cradle boarding, and they'll tie it up so that the head goes up like that. They said this was not that. Okay, the DNA came back, and with mutations unknown in human, primate, or animal known so far, they're saying it's some kind of human. They're not sure what. The cranial volume is 25% larger, 60% heavier than the normal American. You take that on top of this. Former senator, presidential candidate Mike Gravel of Alaska, he says that an extraterrestrial influence that is investigating our planet is out there. A number of astronauts, professors, high-ranking military and political personnel have all been saying the same thing for years. No doubt that human beings are being programmed with fear on that subject matter, but they're out there. And this comes about when another government agency individual, I think it was Canada, came out saying the same thing, that his view was that he was saying that they walk among us, and there's 4 different breeds, and he was going into all kinds of specifics on a show. And if I can find it, I'll put it out there. And it was pretty interesting. And it goes along with my thoughts. Like I've told everybody, I'm Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I believe in a lot of stuff the Catholics do. However, I have a huge problem with the history. Who is this guy? It's God, this invisible God. Nobody's ever came to me and showed me who is this God. How do I know it's not an alien, extraterrestrial, is the God? If you look at a lot of these old paintings, I watch Ancient Aliens, and you see UFOs in there. A lot of references to gods and spaceships and lights and all that. The Catholics say Adam took the rib of the first girl, I forget her name, and he made Eve. I don't know if I'm buying that. I'd rather see that it was a DNA implant from an alien. It works a lot better for me. It makes more sense. I know some people think I'm crazy on that, but don't ever tell my sister that. Well, she knows that. She thinks I'm crazy on it. All right, this is a 9-year-old, and he covers the meaning of life. I just thought it was interesting, and I thought for 9 years old, this guy really does have a good understanding of the meaning of life. So I thought it was interesting enough to play it, and let's go ahead and get it going.
We are on Earth, and the Earth is just one planet in the galaxies. You can compare that to an ant on the patio in this backyard. The ant doesn't know that there's more than the patio here. He just keeps walking. He doesn't know he's just part of of lots of worlds. And the human race is sort of like that. After they've discovered what's up there, they know they're only a little part of the huge galaxy. I think there probably are many different kinds of life forms, cells and organisms. Some may not be visible, some may not have been discovered, and some may be on places we can't go. And they all might have the same perspective as we do on this, that there might be others, and that maybe they can find them someday, but at the moment, they don't know. You never know for sure if there really is anything in the search. It's an endless quest without knowing what your quest is. I think it's realistic at the same time as it is fantasy. Yeah, it's just very complicated because you have no proof that there's anything out there. The only proof is yourself,
right?
And where you are in the universe, and you can only make theories. You can never know the truth. That's one of the hardest questions there is. I would say what the meaning of your life is what you make it. What you think, what you want your life to be. Nobody can decide what you will do except for you. You have control over yourself. You may not be lucky enough, and the odds may be against you, but there's never a definite no that you cannot do this. It may be predestined, but you can change that destiny.
Oh, well, that's tricky, but it's good to know.
I mean, it might be wrong. It might be just scheduled, like some play or something, and you act it not knowing that you're part of it. But all the same, maybe destiny's just telling you. Maybe you just know it, and that's what destiny is. Destiny is a guess of what you know, what it knows about you, and what it knows you would do. It's
pretty interesting or what?
But then again, I might be wrong, and destiny could be totally in control of you.
Well, this radio is a wiffle ball bat.
Okay.
Training up for the season. In my opinion, baseball is one of the things that is the most special in our lives. But the reason that we play sports is very necessary for the entertainment and for the suspense, because we do not have that kind of suspense in our lives. Audio music are another type of that is in a way visible at the same time here. You can hear the sense of color in a way in your mind.
So when you listen to music, do you see colors or hear colors?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Like you might listen to a piece of music and you might say, that sounds like red.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think of that, folks? That is one intelligent little kid there. Well, that's today's show, the worldwide broadcast of the Francesco Abbruzzino live news and talk show. Hopefully, you guys like everything that you saw out here. with the videos, the presentation. Wish we had more calls, and I think the calls will come. Actually, my marketing is starting soon, and I think it's going to start generating some more calls. I have this guy, Ron. He's going to come on and talk more about gluten and health and organic and vitamins. Fran's going to make a couple more appearances to talk about her creative things. And anybody else that thinks they got something they want to discuss that impacts us locally could impact all of us nationally, or they have a national issue that impacts us locally, feel free to contact me and we'll get you on the air and we'll discuss it and take it from there. So for Francesco Abbruzzino, this has been another TVSN broadcast.